Good morning. I want to thank everyone for coming this morning. We wanted to take the opportunity to introduce you to one of our drug detecting canine teams from our narcotics and organized crime unit. Last week, Officer Devlin and Canine Niko seized a significant amount of methamphetamine, which was valued over $750,000, over 300,000 dosage units, and weighed over 33 pounds. Today, Officer Chris Devlin and his canine partner Niko are here, along with Sergeant Chris Kanegi, to share information about the unit and the team. Since many of their investigations are ongoing and long-term in nature, they will not be getting into specific details about ongoing or pending cases, but they do want to introduce Canine Niko and share some of the information about the important work that they're doing in our community. First, Officer Devlin will talk about his canine partner and their work. Then we will have some time for questions. And after that, we will have a demonstration with Canine Niko. So we'll take a little second for you guys to get organized so that he can search for a hidden item nearby. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Officer Devlin.
How you doing? I'm Officer Chris Devlin with Narcotics and Organized Crime Unit. This is Niko. Niko is a 4-year-old Belgian Malinois. We have 3 drug detection dogs in our unit. Niko is trained to find meth, heroin, and cocaine. Niko and I started working together about a year ago. I've been working for the drug unit for about 14 years now, and about a year ago had an opportunity to become a canine team with Niko here. So Niko came from Battleborn Canine out of Las Vegas. He was imprinted and trained by Mel English. I went down there and spent about 3 weeks with Mel, did some one-on-one training. He was already imprinted and good to go, so it was mostly just focused on me. Came back to Oregon and spent about 2 months getting trained before we took our first state certification test. The state of Oregon requires us to be certified once a year. However, Portland Police requires us to take the state certification test 2 times a year. So, any questions about Niko? Or yes?
What do you mean by imprinted?
So, imprinted means basically trained to find a certain odor. Okay, so detection dogs can be trained to find any odor, whether it's explosives, like military use. It could be weapons, it could be cadavers. So Niko was imprinted on the 3 drug odors, the 3 main drug odors. So his drive, he's driven to find those 3 odors so that he can get rewarded for those 3 odors. So Niko's reward, as you saw in the picture, is a tennis ball. Niko will do anything for a tennis ball. He loves tennis balls. He's 4 years old, but he still thinks he's a puppy. And as you'll see, when he gets a tennis ball, it just makes his day. Niko does live at home with me, so I'm around him 24/7, even if I don't want to be sometimes. So, we spend a lot of time together. He's my, partner at work. We hang out on the weekends, get to go down to the park. He's part of our family. Niko's really good with kids, doesn't bite. He's really good to take to like community events with his children. He's very tame. We can come up and you can pull on his tail and he just doesn't care at all. So when kids come up and just start yanking on him or stepping on his toes, it doesn't bother him at all. So he's really good to get out and introduce him to the public and show everybody what he can do. Any other questions?
What's training like for him?
Okay, good question.
I think we both have to.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so our training here, I'll have him sit here. Seats. So his commands are in German. Seats. Come on. Stay. Good. So we train once a week. We train for about at least 4 hours once a week, and then we do some quarterly all-day trainings, and then we do twice a year for the whole state of Oregon, all the dogs, including patrol dogs. Well, we get together twice a year for a 3-day conference. So our training, we train on everything that we might do, which is open area searches, vehicles, rooms, packages. We just try to get creative in our training, use different sites, different expose them to new environments, different conditions, floors, weather, anything that you can think of to keep us, at the top of our game. So the training is for both of us. I would say mostly it's for the handler to recognize what the dog is doing, since the dog can't speak. But yes, once a week we get together with the team in our area, and our 3 drug detection dogs. We have Rex, Chase, and Niko, and we're fortunate to have an experienced handler on our team, Scott Groshong, who is a state certified trainer. So we're fortunate to have him in our group every Tuesday to help run those training scenarios.
You talked about imprinting on 3 different
Odors. Mm-hmm.
Odors. Is that the limit that you want to give a dog, or could they do more, or do some do less?
So some do more and some do less. So there's not in our area, but there are dogs that are trained to sniff out just currency. So they have currency trained dogs. There's cadaver dogs, and then there's like the airport uses. There's the bomb dogs. They call them the bomb dogs, and they can be imprinted up up to 20 different odors. So they have to be proficient and trained on all those different odors. So it all depends on what your needs are. So our needs, are in our area are meth, cocaine, and heroin. Unfortunately, meth is still the #1 problem for Oregon and specifically Portland. So that's really important.
How do you know when it finds something?
Oh, good question. So how do I know when he finds something? So Niko is all of our dogs are now passive dogs, which means they don't scratch or bite at the target. So Niko is also a focused alert dog. So he doesn't sit. Like we see a lot of dogs sit when they find what they're supposed to be looking for. He actually just stays on point. So he gets as close to the source of odor as possible. Sometimes he can't get to it. It could be behind a wall or in a cabinet, so he can't actually get to the odor itself. So he will focus on just stay on point right where. Yeah, he's crazy, huh? He'll stay on point right as close as he can get to it and stay there until he gets his reward from me. Sit.
Chris, can you
Chris, do
expand
you
on
wanna-
some of your findings or searches? Why are you searching cars? Why are you searching houses?
Okay, so
What are you finding? Why can't we just do it?
yes, great question. So it kind of goes back to our training. We train for large amounts of odor and small amounts of odor. Basically, what we're trying to do is utilize. A canine is just a tool for police. So we need this. We need the dog when we as humans can't physically physically see or smell the drugs. So a lot of times drug couriers will hide drugs. Will get creative, right? They'll hide them in oil pans, in cars, or in tires, in packages, in freights, in anything you can imagine. So, yeah, he's nuts. Hey, stay. Good, stay. Good. And to expand on that, a lot of the drugs are not only concealed, but they're also masked. So they'll be wrapped several times in, vacuum seal or plastic, axle grease. This recent one that was on the news the other day, I believe had some cocoa powder mixed in on one of the layers of wrapping. Kenny, you want to hold this and just stand behind the camera here? So, to get his attention off of me, there we go.
That's what he's after in your pocket.
You can call him.
Niko.
There we go. All right. So we need the dog to sniff out that odor that even though a human can't smell it, and maybe even a handheld machine can get that odor, we can use the dog in those certain situations to help us either build probable cause for warrants, lead us in the right direction, for whatever it is we're doing. Sorry.
Will he bark at you if you're not paying attention and he's spotted something?
He does not bark, but that is some dogs do. He does not bark at me. The only time he barks is when I leave. If I leave him in the car or at home, and I leave him alone for a while, he'll bark. But that's about it. Any other questions?
A little more time. What we'll do is we'll do a demonstration, and then we'll have an opportunity. I think Sergeant Carnegie might have a little information about some of the unit stats that we can do after the little demonstration. So we'll have Officer Devlin and Niko kind of search the room for something that we've hidden. So if you want to take your cameras off or get prepared, however you want to do that.
So there's a hidden drug aid on this wall somewhere back in here. So we will work from here going that way, and you'll be able to see how he works in odor and how he stays on that drug aid. So if you notice, his mouth is closed and he's sniffing with his nose. So a dog's olfactory is just incredibly strong. And you'll see, especially when he starts getting into odor, you'll start seeing, watch his tail, watch his whole body start changing. And you'll start to recognize when he's in odor. So you see when his tail starts wagging a little bit. He's going to keep working. Closed up completely. He's only using his nose right now. His mouth is completely closed. And now he's probably going to stay on this spot right about there. Does everybody see that? Does everybody think that there's any doubt that he wants to stay there and that there's odor coming from right there? Okay, so now he's looking back at me because he wants this tennis ball. So I'm gonna praise him. Good boy. I said, good boy. And then as soon as he gets that nose on that odor one last time, I'm going to give him his ball. Right? Oh, that was a little late. Good boy. Say, good boy. Can you show everybody your ball? You gotta watch out for your legs. So, there's your training aid. This is just a metal magnet. It's empty. It has been sitting in a jar with some actual heroin, so it has reduced odor on it, but there's no actual odor. So it's a small odor.
And like Chris mentioned, we have 3 dog teams. Brian, you can just set that over here. And last year alone, which was actually a little small year for us, these dogs found over 7 pounds of cocaine, 66 pounds of heroin, almost 300 pounds of methamphetamine, as well as various other drugs combined with those. Like Chris said, and I think we might have a picture or two to put out later, we actually find a ton of other drugs because the drug trafficking organizations package drugs together. So in one recent case, we found, I think, 20 pounds of methamphetamine, but there were 7,000 fake oxycodone pills that contain fentanyl in there as well. So they haven't figured out to separate the drugs out yet, so let's not tell them. Let's see, the total estimated drug value we seized last year was about $26 million. Our K-9 teams did 309 deployments last year alone. So we use them a lot. I've got work for Chris to do this afternoon as soon as we leave here. And I think that's really kind of just general stuff. You guys have any questions about the narcotics unit or the dogs?
Can you touch on the pills? I think the commander talked about in a podcast recently the amount of pills that are seized and how
I absolutely can. We seized, what did we seize? Around 50,000 pills last year, and not one of them was a legitimate prescription pill. meaning they're all fake Xanaxes, oxycodone, OxyContin, and most of those containing fentanyl. So that's a huge issue we're dealing with now. A lot of those are coming from overseas or traveling up now through the southern Mexican border.
Can Niko help in those particular drugs?
Only if we get lucky. Only if they package them with meth, cocaine, or heroin. So, and the other piece of that is it's anything related to that. So if narcotics couriers are offering mixing drugs and money together, so we find a lot of drug-tainted U.S. currency as well that these dogs can find. So, or any other paraphernalia that helps with the evidence of the case. And like Chris said, he probably minimized his role. They are critical in what we do. The traps, sophistication, like he said, the oil pans in cars, the false walls in houses. We would never find that without the dogs.
Thank you. Any other questions?
It obviously astounds you what they can detect through all sorts of stuff meant to chemical.
Yeah.
Do you have an instance that's most unique, surprising?
Boy, off the top of my head, I'm old. It's hard to remember.
Do you
What's-
have like a standout case or some unique one, maybe a location where
I mean, you
something
had
was found?
the really good one last week was where we had to actually put a car on a lift, drop the oil pan out, and inside the oil pan was a new fake compartment built that we never would have found without the canine. So,
you
and
can
we get a
see-
lot of those kind of things. He's very excited about the drugs right now.
Yeah, I know. It's his big find.
Yeah.
So this is the seizure from last week.
It's one of the, no, it's not the biggest. Niko has had, boy, in about 9 months since he's been certified, he's had 3 or 4 over 30 pounds or more. And then, and to be honest, these are probably easier for a dog, right, because there's so much odor. What I think's, a bigger accomplishment is finding the small amounts, right, the couple grams hidden in a car, up under a dash, where they really have to work for that.
Are there any details you guys can give us about this particular find?
Not yet.
I want to talk about it, but
This one, we can't right now. We've still got a lot going on with this case. Yeah.
just wondering how challenging it was to Niko. Would that be a fair question?
We wouldn't have found it without him. As you can see, the way it's packaged, that like Chris said, it's covered in cocoa powder. There's some of the outer packaging we've already removed, but they're pretty sophisticated in the way they package it.
I think what's of note is, this isn't it for their investigations. A lot of times finding the drugs is really, kind of even the beginning or middle of their investigations. A lot of them are long-term, ongoing, and they're trying to, disrupt, interdict networks to make it safer for our community members. We still have a number of people who've lost their lives in methamphetamine overdoses. The opioid epidemic gets a lot of headlines, but in Multnomah County, methamphetamine is a top killer in our community.
Have any of you dogs been trained on the opioid, specific topic?
Just pardon me, heroin. So they're all on heroin. Yeah, the big 3 is primarily what we focus on. So.
None of the over-the-counter opioids or anything like that?
No pills. We don't have any pill dogs. And like Chris said, there's specific money dogs, electronics dogs. There's all kinds of, but for our unit specific needs, it's just the big drugs.
So in this case, was this crew sent out to where this was found specifically, or were they called?
So Chris works with us every day. We've got on my unit, we've got a team of, 5 or 6 officers, and Chris is there every day. So he's not dispatched out. He is with us on a day-to-day basis, or our other team. Like I said, there's 3, the way we're set up, there's 3 canines in our unit, and we have 2 investigative details, and those dogs just kind of bounce around with us all day long, wherever the work is.
So So in other words, in this case, and I know we can't do this, is that you had a plan or information or whatever, so everybody went.
This was a planned event. Yes, it was. And we've had several of these for this specific investigation over the past several months, and we anticipate several more.
On amounts that you've recovered at a single time, is this a good size?
Very good size. Yeah, yeah. Not the biggest we've ever done, but it's significant.
I don't really want to talk about the money or anything, but I have to ask anyway, what is this stuff worth to these criminals?
For them, it's less. Street value is about $750,000. Cut that.
We're looking at there.
Right there, $750,000. We take it out and sell it on the street right now. Now, obviously, these are criminal organizations, and it's a business model. It's nothing but business to them. So each level you go up higher in the organization, the cost is less, right? It's like buying from a Costco warehouse and passing on down. So, their cost exposures maybe 30% of that, 40% of that.
Do you have any message?
Yeah, I mean, this is, it's a huge priority for us in the Police Bureau, and we're supported wholeheartedly in it. So we're out there. Yeah.